All right, let me go ahead and share my screen and get to MLS. And I know that both of you have gone in MLS, is that correct? Well, I know as a Ray, Daniel, you've been in MLS already?
I have explored a little bit, but a lot to
Okay,
learn still.
okay. And can y'all see my screen? Just want to make sure. The
Yep.
MLS screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. So the first thing I wanted to go through is just a couple of the features, the key ones that you're going to be using right away, which of course is the search, because from the beginning, you're going to be working with a lot of buyers. Okay. Um, so if you go to the search tab on the homepage of your MLS, you'll see that you have different items of ways you can search. The first one is single family. So those are, even though it says single family, you can still, search for townhomes in this area, but it's really just a property type is what it's giving you. And you can use anything in these details to search. I always use general for my searches because then I can get a broader range of different properties and searches. Now, the thing that I want to make sure that you understand, if you're looking for a rental property, there is a section for rentals. So a lot of people make this mistake and they're telling me I can't find any rental properties, and that's because they're looking at general single family. These are only for sale homes only, and rentals have its own section. So even if you go here, you'll see one just for rentals. Okay. Waterfront, the only way that a property shows up for waterfront is if in that MLS, that agent puts waterfront as a key search item. So some properties don't necessarily will say waterfront and come in this up in this section. So it's still good to do a general search if you are looking for like lake homes or waterfront homes. The MLS search, and you can actually put this in that search tab at the top right here. But if you have an MLS number for a property that you're already looking at for, you can actually just type in the MLS number and it'll bring that specific property up. And then you have a search for today's new listings, hot sheet. And so this is what you will be using a lot for buyers. Now, if a buyer investor wants to look for a multifamily property, a duplex or a property that's been converted into multiple families, you will go here, not necessarily in single family homes. And that's if, again, if the agent does their job of putting the right details for the type of property and the right search content. The next one's lots and lands. So again, if you have a buyer that's saying, hey, I'm just looking for land, then you want to typically do a search here unless they say, I want to look at old homes that I can knock down for the land. So there's two different types of lands that people look for, okay? It's either raw land, so that would be the lots of land, or they may say, as Araya, just find me a location in Minnetonka, and even if it has the old property or a small home, I'll knock it down and the values in the land. So if that's the case, then you want to go back and go to the single family search. Okay, whenever there is a real property on a piece of parcel land, unless they put it as just land only demolition, it will still come up in a single family search, the general search. And then commercial, of course, that's what it is. If you want to look at properties for sale, commercial properties, retail buildings, those type of things will be in the commercial. Farm is when you go further out west or further out north and you have more agricultural properties, meaning they have a barn, they have a horse ranch, those types of things. Those typically are in the farm section. Okay. So if you have a buyer saying, hey, I want to get acres and I want a barn and I want to have some horses that I want to, breed, then most likely you're looking at farm properties in this section. If someone says, hey, I just want a house with a lot of land and 60 acres, it doesn't mean it's a farm property. Okay. So still look into the general because acreage doesn't necessarily make it a farm. It's whatever it's categorized as agriculture or what fixtures it has on there to make it a farm. Okay. Open house, again, with open house, you know that if you want to look up an open house, you can do it for this section here. Property listing and then public record. This is an important part I want to talk to you about before we start the search. Public record is where, for instance, if you have a buyer that says, hey, I want to sell my house and I want to buy a new house, but I want to sell mine first. And you look in the MLS and you can't find a listing for their house, you can go into the public record, put in their name or their address, and it'll bring up their tax record for that property. And we'll go through that later. Okay. And you want to do that when people, for any seller, any seller that says, hey, I want to sell my property, you always want to check the tax record. For what reason? Why would you want to check a tax record for a seller? Either one of you. It's a question. Daniel, because Azrael, I don't want you talking that much. Daniel, what would be the reason why you want to verify the tax? What would be the reason why you want to verify the tax record of a seller? So if I said I'm selling my home, why would you want to look into the tax record first of that property?
Because you just want to verify that that is correct information by verifying on the public record.
Correct. And also you want to verify that they own the home, that they are the person that is titled on that home as well. Okay. So you will have people that maybe someone calls and it can be for their father or for a grandmother or someone else that's a relative, and they cannot enter a contract with you or sell somebody else's home if their name is not on that tax record. Okay. In the past, we've had fraud people that will come to agents and say, hey, I'm interested in selling my home, this and that, and they didn't even own the home. So whenever you have someone that's talking about, I want to sell my home, the first thing is get their name and verify that they are on that tax record as the owner. Okay. You might come across someone that's selling the house, but it's part of a trust. So really the trust will be the name on that tax record, not that person. And then you'll have to put the trust name on that agreement. So that's why, whenever it has to do with sellers or anybody that's saying, I want to sell a home, it's good to always go to tax records and verify that they are the owner of the home. Okay. So I want you to just get used to that habit. All right. So let's do a search. Daniel, I'm going to use you as a buyer. Okay. All right. So if you go to the general search, and sorry that my system's going to be a little bit slow. So I close this. All right. So this is what the general search form looks like. You can see it's a lot of information. Don't be overwhelmed by this. Okay. So here to the left, you have status. In the status section, you can search a property based on its status, meaning if it's active, you can just search for active properties by checking here. If it's properties that are sold, if it's properties that are coming soon, and vice versa. Even if you want to do expired or cancels, comp sold just means that they sold it, but they're putting it in MLS just for comparable purposes. Okay, it wasn't necessary in the MLS. You have TNAS. Does anybody know what TNAS means? Anybody know that? TNAS?
No idea.
All right. So TNAS is temporary, not available for showing. So that means for whatever reason, they don't want anybody to see the property or being shown the property. So for one point it was active and then they put it on TNAS, meaning no more showings. Okay, for whatever reason. Pending. So pending, when does a property go into pending? Do you think?
When they start the process of closing deals, but it hasn't been closed yet.
Okay. So there is a part though that it stays inactive until it goes into pending. So what part do you think in the transaction that you have to complete first in order for it to go into pending status? So say you put an offer and it gets accepted. Does anybody know what's the next step for a buyer? What do you do next? Usually on contingent of a contract. Go ahead, Ezra. I saw you unmute.
Into escrow.
Cool, but doesn't change the status yet. Desiree, do you know? All right, so, oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
my mic is being weird.
Oh,
I'm sorry, what was the question? It was about when it goes from
pending.
pending to, so is it when the offer is accepted?
Nope, nope. It's when the home inspection or the contingencies is removed, is completed. So for instance, you can go into the MLS now under active and you'll see what's called active, and then you'll have an I. And that I means that there's a contingent inspection. So it stays in active status until that contingency is removed. That means that home inspection is done and lifted, and then that's when it goes into pending. That is when it's completely pending when the contingency has been removed. Because if there's a home inspection contingency and the buyer doesn't like it for whatever reason and backs out, which a lot of times it happens, do you see how it shifts the status a lot? And so what they did was they put an active but under inspection status, meaning that it's not completely sold yet until that inspection is completed and the buyer and seller agrees. Does everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
So with
I
this
actually
status,
had,
go ahead.
sorry, Trey.
Go ahead.
I did have one too. That's I like. So my last one was contingent upon, or my one right now was not contingent on anything. But there was one that I was looking at for when I was talking to a client, and there was the offer was accepted, but there was no contingency, so it went right to pending. That's pretty
Mhm.
normal, right? Okay. I was like,
Correct.
wait, did I miss something there? Okay.
When there's no contingency. So it means that it does go straight to pending. But when there is a contingency, then it's not under pending status because it's not technically sold yet until its contingency is removed. So
Yeah.
for instance, if it's a buyer that needs to sell their house first and they have a home sale contingency, then it's not necessarily pending yet because they can't buy the property until that contingency is removed. You see?
Yeah.
Now, the confusing thing about the status, the active, which I really believe, even if it goes under, once it's accepted, goes under contract, I believe that it should go into pending, but the MLS is saying different. The confusion of the active inspection status is it will still go out to the public as active, meaning you might get a buyer that says, hey, Azarea, I saw this on Zillow. I want to go take a look at this property. It's active in Zillow. But then when you go into the MLS, it says active inspection. So the third party companies can't determine an inspection. So everything, most of their things is always active. You see, it's either active or pending, taken off the market or sold. Okay. And so it causes confusion to the public because they always think things are still active when they're actually active under that inspection status. Does everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it does cause some confusion. So you will get buyers that say, hey, I saw this property. I'm interested in taking a look. And it may say active in on the internet or somewhere on a search engine. That's why you should always check the status in the MLS of all properties that a buyer brings to you. Okay. So if a buyer's driving by a sign and they says, hey, Azarea, I saw this property and I want to check it out. It says it's for sale. Always check the status first. Same thing with on internet. If Daniel, they say, hey, I saw this on Zillow, or I even saw it on your app, Daniel. I saw this property. I'm excited. I want to go see it. Please do me a favor and do what? What should you do first?
That's the
Check
status.
in MLS.
Check the status because you do not want to go and say, okay, great, I'll schedule an appointment. And then when you go to showing time, and if it's under inspection, it'll pop up a big message saying it's under inspection contingency and you have to get permission to showing. And then you find out that you can't show it. And then you got a buyer excited about seeing a property that's not really active. So just remember that. Check the status of all properties, especially if a buyer is bringing it to you and they found it somewhere to make sure that it is still active. Okay. So this is the search for status. Here is contingent offer accepted, which we don't really use that much. Style, here we go. So you have your single families, and I know that you both know what single family homes description is. You have the townhouses that are detached to each other side by side. You have quads, you have twin homes, you have high rise apartments, 4 levels and above, low-rise apartments, manor village, 2-unit, converted mansion, a lot of stuff I've never even used before. And then you have your timeshares where it could be on a lake somewhere, on a lake property, and manufactured apartments. So there's a lot of this that I haven't used yet. Okay. So similar, the ones that you mostly will use, of course, is all over here. And these sections right here, all single family homes, townhomes, condo co-ops, twin homes, when you're searching. Stories, I usually, when I do searches, I don't necessarily, unless a buyer says, hey, I'm only looking for a one level rambler, then I may put a one story. So say if it's an elderly couple and they say, I don't want steps, I don't want 2 levels, we just want a 1 floor level, then I would put it here. But outside that, I'll keep this open because I don't want to narrow the search for buyers, okay? Put it this way, the more specific and the more that you click on items on your search, the more that you narrow their search criteria. Does everybody understand that? So I know we want to get specific sometime, but for here, the more specific you get, the more that you narrow their search. And then you eliminate properties that they may like. Does everybody understand that? Okay. So as we go to the map search, so there is a way that you can put in within miles of whatever location. You can put your location on there to play around with it. You can circle on the map radius. But for cities, what you do is, say, for instance, if I want to search Eden Prairie, all of them have initials for the cities and locations, okay? So you have to click on whatever that initial is. Now you can add as many cities as you want, okay? You can do it by the postal city. Daniel, can you mute yourself, please?
Yeah.
It's loud. All right. So the postal city is similar. It's the mailing address. I always use the municipality city. You can put in school district. The only thing about searching school district is that if the listing, the agent did not put in the school district code, then that property will not come up, okay? And so, like, for instance, you can do that. For instance, if someone says, I only want to be in, the Eden Prairie High School, or I want to be in specific school district in Eden Prairie or Minnetonka, you can put that school district number here, and it'll search for properties in that school district. The same thing with county. If they only want to be in Hennepin County, you can put the county here, okay? Neighborhoods, that's more in Minneapolis and St. Paul. So if someone specifically wants to be in a specific, city in Minneapolis, like Victory or something like that, you can actually just search for that neighborhood in that city. But those are only 2 cities that can search by neighborhood. The rest of the cities cannot do that. Zip code. Zip code is always good if someone knows the city they want to be in a certain area and there's multiple zip codes, okay? Then you can put that zip code right here. So for instance, if they want to be on a different side of Minnetonka with a different zip code than this side of Minnetonka, then you want to put this specific zip code here. Buyers sometimes get detailed when they definitely know where they want to be, okay? And so you have to listen to them and you put in exactly to narrow down their search, what they're looking for. All right, we're getting down to the bedrooms. So bedrooms, here's the key. If your buyer says that I want to search for 3, at least 3 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms, how would you put that in here in the bedroom section? Just take a guess. Now call on Daniel.
You
So
just
say if I
put
say, Daniel, I want to look for homes and I want at least 3 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms.
You just put the highest number. Like if the person is looking for 5 bedrooms, then you just put 5.
Okay, so if you put 5 in there, just 5, it will just bring up 5 bedrooms. Okay, so this is the way that you want to do it. You can put 3 to 5. Okay, so that's That's one way, 3 to 5 bedrooms, okay? Or the other way is you could put 3 plus. Now we'll bring 6, 7 bedrooms, but it's everything that's at least 3 bedrooms and plus, okay? If someone says, hey, I want 3 bedrooms or less, then you just put a minus, okay? But if you put just that number in here, and sometimes we make mistakes, we put just that number, it will only pull up the bedrooms that you put in here, just that number. It won't do the 4 or 5 or the 2 and 1, it'll just do 3 bedroom, okay? So you have to kind of, and if you hit the good part is they give you cheat things. If you hit the question mark, it'll tell you how to put it in each section, okay? The same thing with bath. If someone says, I want at least 2 baths or more, then you want to put 2 plus, just like that, okay? If you just put 2, then it will just bring up 2 bedroom places. That's it. So I just want to make sure you understand that. The same thing with garage stalls. Now you have people that, hey, I want at least 1 garage, or I want 2 garage, or there's people that wants 3 garage. Then put the number. Now they're fine with, hey, it could be 2 or 3 garage. You could put 2 plus or 2 in that range. The same thing, just like the bedrooms and bath. Year. So if someone says, hey, I don't want anything, Daniel, that is under the year 2000, right? So you can put either 2000, same thing, plus, or you can put 2000 in a range to 2020. And it will just bring up properties. You see how I narrowed it down to 248? It'll bring up properties within this year, these years, okay? Total finished square feet. Now, people will say, hey, I want at least this square foot. I want at least a 2,000 square foot home. So again, you can put 2,000 plus, okay? It's kind of difficult to put a range because if I just say 2,000 to 3,000, then you may eliminate a property that's 3,200 square feet that's in their price range. So always start with just the minimum and just keep it open plus ended to the highest possible in that price range. Now, do you know the difference between total and above finished square feet? So total includes the basement, okay? Any finished area of the lower level, and above is everything above the ground. So at the main level of the ground and above. So that's why, you know, when you see 2 stories or 3 stories, the 2 stories may include that's the above finished square foot, 2 stories, but it may also have a basement. And so whenever I look at a total or a square footage that buyers are looking for, they usually are looking at the total. And that's what you'll put here. Now, again, I try not to narrow a buyer on total square foot unless that's very important to them, because again, you will eliminate some properties that may fit their criteria, but because you narrowed the total square foot, you eliminate a lot of properties. So I usually leave this alone unless I know they don't want a super small house, okay? Now over here for list date, this is where you can search for, I kind of use this more for comparables, or if I want to see what is sold in the last 3 months. This will give you a date for anything that came on the market. That's what the list date is. There we go. All right. So list date, like for instance, if I say I want to look at homes that came on the market from today's date, I click on that all the way until, let's say, August. This is year, this is month. So the 2 arrows year, the 1 arrow's month. And say that I want to look back at what sold from August 1st until, hold on, I gotta close this box. This box of y'all. See why that didn't click. Until November. And then you hit OK. Now you see this narrow went down to 54 matches. So that means 54 homes came on the market between August 1st until today's date that were 3 bedrooms, 2 bath in Eden Prairie. And that's what this date. Now, if you want to look at a home that went off the market or closed, and that's when we kind of look at comparables, then you can do the same thing in these fields and only look at properties that closed since August to now or went off the market since August to now. And the same thing with expiration. Does everybody know what expiration means? When something expires.
Isn't that something that the buyer has a contract with the agent for a certain amount of time, but if the house, like if we cannot find the house, then the contract gets expired.
Okay, now let's do it on the seller side, because remember, you're looking for homes. So what is expiration date when you're searching for a home?
It's a listing, like listing is getting expired because
Exactly.
we couldn't find the buyers.
Correct. They couldn't sell it, so expired, because every listing agreement has an end date. And if they can't sell that home within that end date that you put in the MLS, then the MLS will close it down and say expired, and it will close out that property as an expired property that it didn't sell during that term, unless it's extended. Okay.
Trey, I have a question here. So first question
Yes.
is it like 3 months is good time frame that like we want to use to compare other properties?
You can do 3 months to 6 months. It's according to how many properties you find in the immediate area. So if you're just looking at a neighborhood, that you may want to stretch it further out. Like say, if we say Waverly or somewhere further out where they don't have as many homes sold, then instead of trying to go further out outside of the city area, you may want to back it to 6 months or longer to see what homes have sold in that area. So it's really all about how many homes you can find in that immediate area. And if you can't, like if there's only one home that's sold in 3 months in that area, then you may have to go further back to see if you can find more. You understand that, Daniel?
Yep, gotcha. And I have another question. So once the property gets sold or gets expired, how long does it usually stay in MLS? Unless the seller wants the property to be in MLS.
No, it stays in there. So if something
So
expires,
unless someone goes in there to take it off, like it just stays there.
you can't take it off the MLS. Once something's in MLS, it's in MLS. You can't remove.
Oh,
Yeah, once it goes active and it expires or closed or sold, it's in the MLS and it's in there for years. I can go back to properties that probably sold in, I don't know if it's 2005 or something like that. So it goes all the way back because it keeps a track of the history of the property. And that history is very important of how many times that home is sold, if it expired, what was the price. That's the history of the property. So they want to track the history of the property. Do you see?
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so this keeps all the data for each home that has ever came on the market or sold in the market, and it keeps the history. And I'll give you an example of that when we go through these searches, okay?
And can third party also see that history, or do they only see the houses are active?
Meaning like say if I go on Zillow,
Yeah, Zillow, like can they also see
so
all the histories?
so they don't see all the histories, but they will. What Zillow does, it takes that information and it gives you kind of a summary of how many times it's sold, what price. So it does give you that history. But this will show you each listing history. And I'll show you an example of that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So if I'm searching for a specific house number, it's pretty simple. You put the house number here, not the street. Now, this is the trick. People do this all the time. If I put in the street name, you do not put the way, trail, road, boulevard, street, because it will not pull up anything. You don't know how many agents say, Trey, I'm looking up this address and I can't find it. It doesn't bring up results. It's not an MLS. And you know why? It's because, for instance, they have Wayzata Boulevard instead of just Wayzata. So here, it will probably say it. So if you click on that, come on, take your time. See the street name, street you wish to search in the field. So you want to make sure that you just put the street in there. Do not put street, do not put road, do not put that additional part of the street or it will not bring it up. That's the trick. So you know the trick now, okay? Because I get that question all the time. List price. So say everybody has a budget. If you put nothing here, then guess what? You're going to bring up anywhere from $120,000 property to an $8 million property. You don't have a buyer that's looking for both a $120,000 property and $8 million property. Does everybody understand? So you have to put some type of price range here in the list price. So for instance, if your buyer's budget is, I want to be at 400 and below, so I don't want to go over 400, then you put 400 below. Now, do you see how I put just 400, not 400,000? Again, if you hit on that question mark field and click on it, it will explain how you put the price in there. I know some agents will put in, there's 52 matches. So some agents will go like this and say, hey, I'm looking for a property of 400,000 and below. Okay, so you can put that. You cannot put a comma, but if you just put 400,000, so say your buyer's approved and he's looking for a property of 400,000, you see what happened? It gave me 0 matches. So you always put a range for pricing. If someone is looking for a property and they say, hey, I want to be at between 500 and 600,000, that's the price range that you put. Okay, if someone says, I want a property that's at least 800,000 and up, that's the price range you put. Okay, but you can't just put in a single price number in there, because most likely you will get no matches for that. And if you want to not put in all 6 zeros, just put 400 and minus, and that's the same thing. Okay, so for this, I want to go ahead and put, let's narrow it down even more, 300 and under $300,000. So it went from 52 matches or 54 matches to 27 matches. So what this is going to bring up now, and this is Minneapolis communities as well, what this is going to bring up now is that it's going to bring up any property, and let's put active. See how it jumped down to 8 from 27. So it's going to bring up any active properties in Eden Prairie for 300 and below that are 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, that has came on the market from August 1st until today's date. So that's the way that I just gave you all the features for your searches. So when you're done, hit results, and it will bring up the listings, those 8 listings. Now here is a gold nugget, okay? You see how you have single line grids. That doesn't show you anything. That's pretty confusing, isn't it? If you hit on this display and you put property short, you see that? Click on that. I'm gonna show you. Do you like that screen, the first one, or do you like this one better? See the difference? Now you can see the pictures, you can see more information about it. And you see where this says active, and remember I talked about this before, an offer has been accepted contingent upon inspection. There's that AI, okay? But this, if you put it in that display short mode, it will give you the information and the pictures. And that's the way I always look at the properties for buyers, okay? You can do a full, but that full will only give you 1 page at a time. So you keep clicking side by side to get the 1 page, okay? All right, so let's look at some of these properties. So you have, remember I put 300 and below, so you have one property is 189,900. What does CC stand for? Does anybody know what CC stand for? See the CC? 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 What does that CC stand for? CC. Let me click on this. Okay. So style, CC. Does anybody know what CC stands for? Daniel, Ezra, y'all still there?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, if you look down below, what is that? It says condo. Condo. Okay. So what this tells you is that it's in a condo association or a planned condo. And so this is the actual condo unit. Okay. Now, the reason why I want to show you this, and that's important, is because when there is a condo, there's usually what? What else does the buyer usually pay for when they live in a condo? So, it's just you, Daniel. So it's just, there's usually a condo fee. It will be right here. See that? That's how much they pay a month. So this is good to know, Daniel, because you may have people, especially around your age, that's just looking for like an apartment or a condo or something like that. And they says, hey, Daniel, I'm approved up to $300,000. And this is what pulls up, right? So the difference is say if this property was $300,000, listing the asking price of $300,000, would they be able to afford this condo?
Well, it depends. They also have to take into account for the association fee plus mortgage and everything too. So
Exactly. So usually when the lender gives you a up approval price, your lender is putting in those monthly considerations. Okay. So if they're approved for $300,000, unless you talk to the lender and ask them, hey, can they afford a 446 condo fee? Usually it takes them out of their approval. Okay. And so the thing about condos is you have to really look, because I've seen in the past agents make mistakes and they say, hey, I found a condo for you, 185,000, or 194,900. It's in your price range. Come on, let's take a look. Let's make an offer. And the agent makes an offer on it, right? And they're good to go. It's accepted. And then they get the condo package, and there's a big fee that says $446 a month that they're paying for. And the buyer didn't know. Who would the buyer get upset with?
agent.
With the agent. Like, Daniel, why didn't you tell me that there was a $446 a month? Now that's a lot, because if you think about it, a loan, $10,000 loan difference is about $70 a month. So what you stacked on top of their monthly, in a loan payment is about $40,000, $50,000. You see that? So that's why when you're searching, especially 300 and below, and you see the condos come up, I always go down. The first thing I check is how much the condo fee is. I always check that. Now, the good thing about this is that includes the heating, looks like gas, water. So it includes a lot of stuff in here, and other amenities. Okay. It can be a pool or fitness center. Whatever the amenities are in the building, it's what it includes. Some fees are less and some fees are higher based on amenities and just what is offered in that association fee. Okay. So a little bit about here is that it'll say 3-bedroom, 2. It'll say the garage, year built. Here's your tax information, which you can click on, but I'll get back to that. Here is your total square foot. You're above average. It'll show you the lot size. This is the days on market. Okay. So it tells you how long it's been on the market. If there's a tax balance and how much their taxes are for what year. Homestead. This will tell you the city, the school district, and it's kind of self-explanatory. It'll give you descriptions, lots, what the associated fee includes. Here's the agent remarks. Now there's two different ones. The public remarks and agent remarks could be different, okay? Meaning that there could be specific instructions for the agents that the listing agent only wants to see the agents to see. For instance, here, it says no touch policy while in the home and no use of the bathroom facilities. You do not want to put that in your public remarks to the rest of the world saying no touch policy while in the home and no use of the bathroom facilities. I've seen people make mistakes and actually, by mistake, copy their agent remarks into the public remarks. And I've seen anything from make sure buyers take off shoes to make sure you confirm measurements, don't let dog out. Now, it's funny when people mess up and they put it out in the public, their instructions to agents. It's pretty hilarious what they put on there. So, but you see there's a difference. So just make sure that you read both the agent remarks and the public remarks, because they may be different, okay? If you go down to construction information, it will show you each room. It'll let you know basically the dimensions, the sizes of each room. As you can see that. The middies, the description, the bathroom, garage, everything is here, right on this page. Here, this is important for us as buyer agents to tell you what the compensation is. Now, I know this is a good example. Standard is usually the compensation is what? How much is usually the commission compensation?
3%.
Whoa, that's pretty big for a buyer's agent. Usually it's how much, Azariah? Even I don't want Azariah to really talk, but I'll have her.
2.5 to 2.7, generally 2.7 is average.
Usually the average is 2.7, but sometimes you'll see less, 2.5. So that's why as a buyer's agent on each listing, you want to come down here and look to see what your buyer compensation will be. It'll say it right here. And whatever it says, that's what the seller is reimbursing on behalf of that buyer. Seller terms, this is good to know because sometimes especially a condo, if it's not approved for FHA, then it'll take off FHA and you only see conventional cash and this, meaning that if your buyer has an FHA loan, this property does not qualify for that for whatever reason. So you want to look and make sure that it accepts the type of financing that your buyer has that will reflect on their lender letter, okay? So does everybody understand this? And of course, you can click on here and you can go through the pictures. Oh, isn't it wonderful? Look, it's so beautiful. Wow, so nice. Look at all that, okay? Now, this is important. You see all of these little icons below the picture. So if you go over it, it says view map. This one is the supplements for the property. So if you click on that, this should have your seller property disclosure that you need for an offer. This is required that a seller has to give a property disclosure of their property to a buyer, to any buyer that's making an offer. And this will list off if there's any major defects of the home that they have to disclose. So this is a requirement and you need it for your offer. So please do not forget this because this has to be reviewed and signed by the buyer and attached to your offer to be a full offer, okay? And we have to find it in that section there in order to download it and have our buyer sign it to attach with the offer. And a lot of times we forget that. That's a document that's a lot of times forgotten because it's here in the MLS. Showing time. So does everybody have their showing time application on their phone? Daniel, did you get your showing time yet?
No, I don't have it.
Okay, so this is the thing, Daniel. If I put my hand up and say, Daniel, I want to go see this home right now, do you think you'll be able to show it to me?
Not at this moment.
I mean, you can. The only thing is, for instance, you can. This is the thing. When it's on your phone, it is easy for you to pull up a property and you don't have to be in front of your desktop. And you can just schedule right from your phone. You could be at work and you can schedule something for your buyer. You don't have to be in front of a computer like here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So from here, yeah, you can still do it, but you have to do it more of a manual way through the computer. So download that app for Showing Time. It comes with your system, okay? It is right there for you to use and it's very convenient for you to use if you want to schedule something really fast for a buyer. And you can do it right from your phone, okay?
Yep.
And so I'm gonna just go through here. So if you schedule, like say I want to schedule a single showing for this property. Let me see something. Sorry, yeah, let's find them over. So if I want to schedule a single showing, let's say for tomorrow at 12 p.m., then what I'll do is I'll go to the calendar that it brings up for the property and I'll click on 12 p.m. And you see, This is pretty quick. I mean, easy. Now, this says appointment required, wait for confirmation, meaning you cannot go to the property at 12 o'clock if you don't have your appointment confirmed. This is another of a new agent mistake, is that just because you submit the request doesn't mean you're good to go and now you're ready to go to the property. If it says though, go and show, that means they'll give you a confirmation right away and it'll say confirm, go and show, boom. But here, if it says appointment required, wait for a confirmation, then once you click request, it will not, you cannot show it until you get that confirmation back from the listing agent, okay? So appointment time, you can put in the type if it's a showing. If you're just going to look at the property for yourself, it is always courtesy to just go ahead and put agent preview. If you're doing an inspection and you're meeting the inspector out there, you can put an inspection. A lot of times you'll, even if it's like a second showing, third showing, whatever it is, it's all here, okay? The end time, you can put it for, sometimes they have restriction. For instance, they only allow up to an hour. So you can't say, I'm gonna do it for 2 hours. So this is the minimum, and this is up to 1 p.m. that you can stay at that property. So this means that if your schedule is 12 to 1, okay, that means by 1 o'clock, you should be out the door already, because they might have someone scheduled for 1 o'clock, okay? So I like to give a bigger time window in case, like for instance, if I'm showing my buyer another property before this property and they stay in that property a little bit longer, then it gives me time to drive to the next property, get them there, and we may get there at 12:15, but they still have 45 minutes. Does everybody understand that? It's better to have a bigger window than say, hey, I know it'll only take my buyer like, they're pretty fast. Let's say we'll be done by 12:30. Well, guess what? If you don't get to the property from another showing until 12:15, now you just narrowed them down by 15 minutes. Does everybody understand that? So that window is the window to get there and show the property and walk your property, your buyer through the property and get out. That's the window, right, Azarea? So I see you unmuting a lot.
Yeah, I'm making sure I answer you.
So don't make that mistake, because if you get there late, you have to call the agent or reschedule and ask them to extend your time. And that may make it awkward, especially if they have another showing, that you may not be able to show that property, okay? So it's always to have a bigger time frame, and if you don't use it all, that's great, then to give it a short time frame. Anything can happen. It's called traffic. All right, you don't have to put the buyer's name here. I never put the buyer's name or anything like that there. For me, I think that's none of their business, kind of. But anyway, and then you hit request appoint. I'm not going to hit request appoint because it will send a request appoint notification to that listing agent, and I'm not showing this property. Okay, so that's how you schedule through ShowingTime off of the MLS listing. This is the incident forms. So Daniel, when you take your contracts class, you will learn how to get through this to get to your forms in order to write up and make an offer, okay? But it's all here. Hopefully, Azrael, you know this, but if you do it from here, from the MLS itself of that property, it will auto-populate the information of this property instead of you going directly to your incident forms and then doing it from scratch. You know that, right?
Yes, I do. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. All right. So this is down payment resource. I don't really use that. Trust fund. So for instance, if you remember, Daniel, you said escrow. Well, it's really the EMD. So if you're collecting the earnest money deposit, they got accepted, and now you want your client to submit their earnest money deposit into escrow, they will click on this link right here if the listing agent has a trust fund account, meaning they will be able to electronically send to that listing agent's company their earning monies deposit, meaning you don't have to deliver a check or anything. You can do it straight from here. Before you tell the buyer that they can do that, you have to check on this listing to make sure that this company has a trust account to do that, because some smaller brokerages does not have trust funds account. and they do the old fashioned, you come and bring me a check, okay? So this is InfoSpark statistics. This is all kind of information and resources. So I won't really go through this right now. So that's what that is. And then you have right here, your view Supra key box setting. So Daniel, I'm gonna have to ask you this question. Do you have your Supra key and Supra app?
I do have an app, but I haven't activated yet.
Okay, so this is the thing, Daniel. If I say, Daniel, I want to go see this at 6 o'clock today when you get off work, and I want to see this property, will you be able to show it to me?
Well, not today.
Well, you wouldn't be able to if you don't have your super key, meaning that if this is
Right.
on a super lockbox, you will not have access to this property. Okay. Now, if you look at the super key, it's only a couple dollars a month. All right. So I really want you to go ahead and get that set up, because you never know when someone puts their hand up, and you don't want to be embarrassed and not say, I can't show this property because I don't have my super key. Or go to the property and find out that it is a
Yeah,
super.
exactly.
Right. And you want to practice. You can ask Azarea. The super key lock boxes are not the easiest to get into. So part of your homework, Daniel, is for you to find a property that's vacant and do a agent preview. Use one that's on a super lockbox, so you can practice, because there is a technique to get into these super lockbox, and it takes time to learn it. Right, Azarea? So I would tell you to go and practice with the super lockbox. Go to a property and practice opening it, because it's kind of tricky. Okay, there's instructions to it. Don't be like
Yeah,
me.
I had to have
Oh, go ahead.
I had to have the instructions pulled up when I was there, because I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
We have all did it. Even my first time doing it, I had my buyers right there, and I was like, it's easy. It's a lockbox. All you gotta do is point. Man, I told him to go. It was snow on the ground. It was cold. I had to tell him to go sit back in the car while I'm taking 10 minutes to try to figure out how to open this lockbox. So that was embarrassing for my first time out. Okay. So Daniel, practice, open that lockbox. All right.
Will do.
So two things I want to show you. You can get to tax information here, but this is what I was talking about, Daniel, when you're asking me about how long does it stay on the property. So if you hit on this history, and in this history section, it brings up, you see all this? So it brings up the history of any listing, any changes, anything that has happened with this property. Okay, you see how here 2020 it's 194,900, right, Daniel? You see that? You see how much it was back in 2015?
Yeah.
132,000. Okay, you see it says active, then it's TNAS. So that means it probably went under contract for inspection pending, and it closed. So it closed in May 2015. Okay. And so since 2015, it has not sold or been on the market until recently on November 2020 for 185. And then I don't know what they did, but they changed it and then put it higher when they, for 194. I don't know what that's about. But do you see why we keep all the
It went up
information?
$20,000 within 2 days.
Yeah, don't know what that's about. So, but you see why they keep all the information for all listings and anything that's happened with the property, because it's right here for you as an agent. Okay. So that's a good feature to have, especially when you want to look at the history of a property, or you want to try to explain to a buyer why at first it was listed for 185, then it went to 179,900, and then went up to 194,900. So, and what you can do is you can click on the original listing. It will probably still bring the same listing as right now. And unless they put notes of why, let's see, fridge and laundry room, not part to sell, washer dryer are part to sell. And nope, they have no information for the agent of why there was a price change. So you would have to call the agent, ask them, why did it go from 185 to 194,900? for whatever reason, okay? That's a mystery. All right, down here. So for instance, if I want to send this listing to you, Daniel, I can click on the listing and I can hit email. And from here, I can go ahead and set you up to email this listing directly to you. Okay, please, everybody, if you haven't yet, make sure you edit and put your signature, set up your signature so that it's on all your emails through MLS when you're sending it to clients. So that's how you can send this listing to a buyer, to anybody, okay? And you can always blind copy you on the listing. What I want to look at is how to set up where we go. There it is. All right, you can print it. So again, you click print out the PDF copy of it, and it'll print out the listing. And you can choose what type of file you want to print, if you want to print the full listing or just a short version. CMA, there's a CMA class for this, so I'm not going through CMA, but that's how you do a CMA through the MLS. It gives you directions, stats, export information, showing time, all that stuff. So here you have, this is your actions. Here you have save. This is what I want to show you. So Daniel, for instance, if I want to set you up on this criteria of any properties in Eden Prairie that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 300 and below, and I want you to start getting automatic listings every time something hits the market that fits in your criteria, what you want to do is go to new auto email. And this is where you set it up from. So you can put in here from your list. I'll just use this as a similar, that's my buyer, okay? You can copy them on anybody else. You put in a subject. I usually will say your home search. You can put a specific city if they're searching in Eden Prairie. So you can put your home search Eden Prairie. You can put whatever you want, but just know that this will go out on every single automatic emails. So whatever you put in here, that's the way that your email is going to formulate every time listing goes out. So don't put a specific, property or anything like that, because it will just confuse your buyer. So put something very vague here. Here's the welcome email that they'll get once that they're registered to come, invited to go into this portal. The reoccurring email, one or more new listings, update your match. You can put anything in here you want, okay? But these are the generated emails from the system that will send out to your client. They'll have your signature automatically on there. Now I want to explain this to you. So here's the criteria: Eden Prairie, 300 less, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. During that list date, you want to take that out though if it was real. Show this contact and reverse prospecting results. I don't never change this. I have it always default here. You can enable into your favorite search. So if you want to go to this criteria on your homepage, you can put in your favorite tab to get to it quicker. This is what's important. You see how it defaulted to get emails daily, okay? So that means that whenever a property hits the market at a specific time, every day, it will send them an email. Or you can change it to every night, it will send them an email, okay? I always put ASAP. Why do you think I choose ASAP over scheduling at daily times? Does anybody know? No? Okay, so the reason why is because the ASAP means that once a new property hits the market, it will automatically go to your buyer. If you put, let's say, PM, and say if 5 properties came on the market at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? Do you know when they will get it? That means they don't get the list of those properties until nighttime. So they have to wait. So that means your buyer is not getting real-time information as quick as possible if you schedule it. That's why you put ASAP, as soon as possible, so that once that property hits the market, it will automatically, no matter what time it is, go to your buyer. And that's why for scheduling, I always put ASAP And then this is once a month. That's, for instance, if you have someone that say, hey, I'm not looking to buy until next year, but I would love to get some listings, you can set them up for monthly emails based on the search criteria. So they'll get one once a month, okay? So with this, you'll hit the save button, and then you're all set up that that person, oh man, he's gonna get a duplicate. that that person will get, I gotta tell my buyer, disregard that. I just thought about that. That it will send out and get them set up so that they will get automatic listings based on their search criteria. Does everybody understand that? Okay. And then the last thing is carts. So for the carts, okay, what you want to do is, for instance, if I don't want to send this to my buyer yet, but I think it'll be something they like, you can go ahead and put it in their cart to save it for them. So say I'll just put Trey Scott's cart right here. And I think that Trey Scott would like this property. So I want to just keep, watch for it, and I'll let them know about it. And I just want to put it in their cart. It's kind of like putting properties in a grocery cart until they check out. And so now it's saved in the cart. And now what I can do is I can go back into that cart and send them this property or any other properties that's in it that I think they like. So that's where I can store properties that I see that I think my buyer likes in that cart section. Okay, does everybody understand that? All right, any questions on the searches? Because I got to finish up, and I started, I went over, and I hope you understand that because we started late, okay? All right, so real quick, the last thing I just want to show you really quick, my matrix. So in my matrix here, it should have, there's a section for my information. So it should bring up all your information that you will have. It'll show up either on your cover page for your CMA, or it'll show up for your email signatures right here. Remember I said, make sure that you put your email signature in there. Any type of correspondence for headers or footers or anything like that, it will all go here. So if you want to revise anything that has to do with your information, you go in your My Matrix to your My Information to edit it. Contacts, it's pretty self-explanatory. That's where you put all your contacts, your buyers in there so they can get emails. We already talked about auto emails. I'm not really familiar with the concierge service. Save searches, you can save any searches that you create. We talked about the sent emails, CMAs, it's another class. Watch listings, so you can watch specific listings. There's a kind of a check mark that you can say, hey, I want to watch this, and it will alert you if there's any changes. Like say if there's a price decrease, then you'll be alerted if there's a change in that listing. Here's the My Listings. So again, this will show you all your listings, okay? My carts, that's the cart that I saved for a buyer. And then there is your settings part for your information. So that's pretty self-explanatory. The roster here is if you want to go and see the agent roster, your office roster, and see who's all the agents that's in your office, and you can get their number and pull up all their listings in your office. We kind of briefly talked about the tax record. So if you go to public record search and you want to pull up a seller's property that wants to sell it, this is where you can put their first name, last name, the house, hit results, and it will bring up that tax ID of that property, okay? And let's see, any questions so far as we're finishing up? Daniel?
I have a question. So, you know how when the people are usually looking at the third-party websites, like a Zillow, right? So is there any like lagging between MLS searches being populated into the third-party website?
Yeah, there could be. I mean, it could be anywhere from an hour to 24 hours. It's according to that third party site and how often they update their site to the MLS.
Okay, but it's not gonna be like like days or weeks. It just happens like within a
No,
day.
it shouldn't. I mean, it shouldn't be, but I can't speak for the third party companies.
Right.
our website, it's updated real time. So as quick as it's updated in MLS, it may take a couple minutes and then it's updated on our website.
Okay.
Okay. I think that is about it. So just want to make sure if you have any questions about this. This was all the basics of MLS. We went through the showing time, the Supra. Like I said, Dan, you got to download that app because you'll need that on your phone in order to open that box. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? So what I want y'all to do, and Azariah, I guess you've already done this, but Daniel, what I want you to do is I want you to do a search for yourself, looking for your investment property. And I know you probably done this homework, right? Have you done this yet?
No, I have not.
Okay, so I want you to find a property, kind of like you're looking for yourself as a buyer. Search for it, find it, look at it. If you like it, and then hopefully it's vacant. If it's not, or find one that's vacant, and then I want you to go and preview it.
Okay. I have a question. So do you know anything about, the new guidance from the governor about, like, about the COVID? Like, are we allowed to do the showings? Does that
Yes.
affect anything?
Well, when you go to the listing, it will have showing information on there. So for instance, here, usually it will say right here, see? In effort to control the spread of COVID-19, please ensure that no one is showing signs of illness, has been in contact with anyone COVID-19, travel to any high at-risk area, enter the home. Please have clients exercise no touch policy. See, they give you the instructions. So each listing will have instructions for you.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to read the agent remarks because there will be instructions in there. And also when you schedule, most likely through ShowingTime, they'll give you additional instructions as well. Okay. So it's particular, I mean, they're pretty standard. Some people are more like you have to have masks, you have to wear this, you got to do this. And some people have less, but it's all about the seller's instructions. Okay. Any other questions?
Sounds good.
All right. Is there any questions? No, I know, because I don't want you to
No,
talk.
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Well, y'all have a great day. Thank you for your patience going over a little bit because we started late. If you have any questions, let me know. And Daniel, I want you to do your home search for a property yourself, and then make sure you get your Supra and go take a look at one. Okay.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
Trey.
Have a great day. Feel better,
Thank
Ezra.
you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.